Aviation has had a major impact on Canada.
The new airport is going to be the jewel of the oil sands region, and it's going to connect the entire world to the economic powerhouse of Canada.
It's going to mean so much in terms of a livable community. It's going to mean a lot to the residents of the area.
Fort McMurray represents the future of this province, and the new airport is going to make that future even brighter.
The ability to connect with each other is one of the most important things we have.
This is really going to be a source of pride for the community for many years, and it has put Fort McMurray on the map. Our region, Fort McMurray and Wood Buffalo, was built on a pioneering and innovative spirit. And this goes back to even when the first commercial airline came in with YMM in 1929.
With his brother, he started the first Western Canadian commercial flying company in 1919. He pioneered air service to the Mackenzie District, flew the first airmail into Aklavik, made the famous Mercy flight to Vermilion in 1929, assisted in the Albert Johnson hunt in 1932, has been a bush flyer, done barnstorming, and practically lived in a plane since the First World War. We are proud to introduce Captain Wilfred Reed May.
I'm the son of May, who was one of the early bush pilots that flew out of Edmonton, out of Fort McMurray, and into the Arctic. It opened up the north for economic development, for mining, for hunting, for tourism, and for business.
The new airport terminal is very important to Wood Buffalo and Fort McMurray, but also Alberta and, in fact, Canada, because Fort McMurray is the economic driver of this province and the country.
This new airport facility supports the growth of one of the fastest growing communities in all of North America, and it also provides support for the industry that is developing in the surrounding area throughout the municipality of Wood Buffalo.
Well, the new airport terminal is very exciting for us as an industry because it enhances our ability to move people in and out of the region, to build our projects and sustain them for the next 50 to 100 years.
When I think back to when this redevelopment project began in 2007 with council approving a $100 million budget, there was a lot of discussion about how the airport began.
Well, of course, YMM is a legend for us. So I grew up in Fort Vermilion, so the YMM story is part of our family history and my family history.
In the early days, aviation would have been a very different experience than what it is now. There were no airport terminals. There was aircraft were kept down by the river or on the shore of the lake, either on skis or on floats. Took the mail, they took the passengers, they took miners, they took dog teams, they took whatever there was. If somebody said we got to take 2 canoes up to so-and-so lake, they'd strap them on under the wings of the aircraft and away they'd go. In those days, if you were going to go on a flight, you walked down to the terminal or down to the shore at the Snai. And if the aircraft wasn't ready or if they were loading, you probably helped load the aircraft. You may have helped put fuel in it. And when they were ready to go, you climbed in and away you went. There was no seat belts, there was no seats. You simply crawled in the back of the aircraft and you sat on whatever was in there.
When we think about energy in this province in Alberta, we really think about the Wood Buffalo, Fort McMurray area as the economic engine for the province. And we look over since 1986 when the original terminal was built with a capacity then of 250,000 passengers and now serving 1.3 million passengers. The need for infrastructure when we build out in the Fort McMurray region is so important.
The new terminal is, to my understanding, been designed not only to handle today's traffic, but for decades into the future. And that's really the way we need to build infrastructure in Alberta. Alberta to be ready for the long run.
One of the things we're finding is when you do these projects, it requires an enormous amount of human capital and folks to be able to come and use their skills to be able to make these projects real. And so without aviation, I don't know how we would do it.
In the old days, we would have departed from places like Edmonton because the services weren't here. These days, we've got so many opportunities to connect to those points that would take us to our desired locations that I just can't say enough about how important the changes have been and how much benefit it brings to residents that are here as well.
What happens here in Fort McMurray generates jobs and prosperity that touch every Canadian from coast to coast to coast. So the expansion of this airport in Fort McMurray is not just important for the workers and the people of Fort McMurray, it's important for the entire country.
In those early days, I remember talking to people and what their impression was of looking down for the first time from an aircraft. And these aircraft didn't go very fast, so you had lots of time to look out and watch. The sound of an aircraft coming in was always exciting, and it's exciting today. It's the sound of a bush plane that's different. My mom lived in Fort McMurray with my dad right from 1929, I guess, to 1936. And it was a lonely time for her because when he headed north, she had no idea where he was going, when he'd come back, if he'd come back. I hear that sound and I look up and I see a plane with floats on it, and I know that it's going to land out at one of the lakes around the area.
I still have a soft spot in my heart for those planes, even if they only did 80 miles an hour.
How times have changed.
My dad was a person interested in the future of aviation. He saw a future where people would fly everywhere, and I guess that's happening.
They're going to be like a lot of other people in the future. They're going to do all or most of their traveling by air. That is why I look for even greater progress in aviation during the next decade.
Well, you know, the community is huge, and one of the things we're trying to do is attract people into the community to be able to support our businesses long term. Our resource base is enormous.
Also, we have to think about the jobs that are created in manufacturing, in the service industry, and how that impacts every Canadian. This airport is going to mean so much in terms of a livable community. It's going to mean a lot to the residents of the area, and I think it's something that's going to have a positive impact on the community as a whole.
Less than 100 years, and we now have the Fort McMurray International Airport. It's a proud moment for, particularly, I think, Scott Clements and the Authority Board, but for every resident in Fort McMurray.
It's important to have an air terminal in Fort McMurray particularly because there's so much traffic coming in and out. People living elsewhere, coming into work for a week or two and flying back out again. I know that half of the Newfoundland population, I think, must live in Fort McMurray. It's a big business now.
And a proper air terminal, it makes travel more comfortable and it makes it more possible. And that's what this new terminal is really going to do for Fort McMurray, is really take it to the next level.
The tenacity of the Airport Authority and their focus on achieving this goal has been unbelievable. And Scott Clements has been a fabulous leader, and you know, everyone in the community recognizes his contribution. So, sir, to you, I salute you.
It takes an incredible vision to make this happen, and Scott, under his leadership, has brought this to reality. So I couldn't be prouder, and I want to congratulate the entire team and all those who participated historically in this great project for our region.
The new Fort McMurray Airport. Yes, more movement, finally.
The whole city really was behind this, but I'd have to say Mayor Melissa was just a tremendous champion.
Air travel industry itself has gone through massive change, and I think that one of the points of pride that we have is where we're going with our Fort McMurray Airport.